Good evening. I am Anatoliana Chalisova, and this is Patriots Must Rise. I know you've probably heard what's going on at Columbia University. But I wanted to take the time to kind of put a spin on it. You see, when you start talking against America, there actually is a clause in the 25th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, and I gotta look it up, but I believe it's also a 19th Amendment that converge together, which, by the way, is how the Supreme Court got the idea of a right to privacy being constitutional, because nowhere in the Constitution does it actually say that you have a right to privacy. The Supreme Court just basically hodgepodged a bunch of amendments together and made it so. So if they could do that, why can't we? Anyway, the spirit of the amendments that I just named says that if you speak out against America, you should have your citizenship revoked. In fact, shortly after the American Revolution, one of the captains of, I guess it would have been a pirate ship because we didn't have an official navy, was frustrated, and he said, "Damn America." Just 2 words. So the people that he was talking to, and it happened to be the First Continental Congress, sentenced him to sail the seas without landing in America. He could come to port, but he could never get off the ship until the day that he died. This is what should be happening to these pro-Hamas people. Ship them to Iran. Revoke their citizenship. And just let Iran have their way. Because in most cases, every one of them would be beheaded. You and I both know it. And in their hearts, they know it. They're terrified of the prospect. But they support Hamas because they hate America. So maybe we should actually act on this. Today I want to talk to you about perspective. And I think this is something that could definitely change the narrative and put aside a lot of racism in America. The historical fact is that every race has seen a time where they were enslaved. It's just how do you actually deal with it? Here's an example that I hope you can relate to. All right. Virtually everybody knows who Dracula was. But Dracula was actually based on a historic figure, Vlad Tempe III, or Vlad Tempest, depending on what country you're talking about. Who's talking about him? If you ask somebody from the Middle East who Vlad Tempest III was, they'd tell you a story about this horrible demon that impaled thousands of men. And yet at the same time, if you ask anybody from Eastern Europe who was Vlad Tempest III, and they happen to be Christian, they would tell you that this is the man that held the line and kept the Ottomans from invading Rome, saved Christianity. Thousands of men on spikes, which, to be honest, I believe is a story that was greatly exaggerated, probably by Tempest's men, in order to push the fear to the leaders of the Ottomans. Or a man that actually preserved the Holy See in Rome. Two totally, completely different perspectives of the same man. Now, and because I am so sick of these race baiters and these leftist hacks constantly trying to get people to feel guilty for stuff their ancestors may or may not have done, I am going to throw this out there. When it comes to the African American the modern African American, who on average is 3 generations away from slavery. I must tell you, I really don't give a shit about what your ancestors went through. Because my ancestors were enslaved for 4,000 years. You're talking 400. The Slavic people got over their slavery and are thriving. The Irish and the Scottish, enslaved by the British for hundreds of years, got over it, didn't accept a victim mentality, and are thriving. They came to America as indentured servants, basically slaves, and ended up literally running New York City. This isn't white privilege. This is sweat equity. So I guess what I'm saying is get over yourselves. Because it is degrading the way that you are constantly blaming other people for your problems. And you're passing it on to the next generation, makes you look even worse than who you actually are. You can do better. Don't believe the press. Don't buy into the BS that is constantly thrown at you by MSNBC and CNN. The Communist News Network is exactly that, the Communist News Network. They were designed for the sole purpose of driving propaganda into your head. Don't buy into it. If you get offended by somebody using the term diversity hire, which is definitely a fact, push beyond it. Make yourself stand out in the quality of work that you're doing. Stand out to such a point that nobody can question that you don't belong there on your own merit. Because only then will you no longer be a slave to a Democrat Party. And guess what? You are still slaves to a Democrat Party as long as you buy into this victim mentality about reformations and whatever else that they're trying to sell, because you somewhere in your bloodline had had an ancestor who happened to be on a slaver's boat. Who was also sold by another black man to be put on that boat. Probably something that you weren't told, but you should probably look it up. Anyway, I just wanted to give you something to think about today. I know I come across a little bit crass and even a little bit angry. Well, I am angry because you're telling kids who have only been in this country for a year that they need to be apologetic for being white. How racist can you get? Anyway, I'm Anatoly Anatolisva. This is Patriots Must Rise. Please like, subscribe, live free, die well, and love your neighbor as Christ has loved you.